Hello and welcome back to Sacramento Smooth Jazz. As we continue our Artist Spotlight series, today we are welcoming to the show a relentless trailblazer in the contemporary jazz scene. He's a force to be reckoned with, and he's a 3-time Billboard Jazz artist who has amassed an incredible catalog for the past 20 years. So these past 2 decades, he has 10 solo albums, including 2023's chart-topping No Boundaries, featuring hit singles like the Stevie Wonder tribute, Sir D. His entrepreneurial spirit drove him to launch his own label, while his unmistakable sax stylings continue propelling him to new heights. He has 4 #1 hits across the charts and a big following across the land. I'm telling you, he personifies the passion and innovation fueling today's jazz scene. So welcome back to the show and to the stage, the one, the only Dee Lucas. Dee, it's great to have you back, man. How are you today?
Hey, man, it's always a pleasure to be back. Thanks for having me.
Man, absolutely. I'm thrilled. You know, you got some great music out there. We got a festival coming up, and I said, we have to talk to you. We got to get you cleared of your schedule, because I know you're running around touring here and there. So thank you for the few minutes that we have. So let's get right to it. Now, for those who don't know, because you've been here before, several times before, but those who don't know you, great sax player, but why the sax? Why the soprano sax out of all the saxes? Why, what started this with you? Why sax?
Well, I think for the soprano sax, it's a unique sound. And I think it personifies a lot of who I am as a person, very distinctive. I try to go to the left. I'm not a middle of the road type person or in crowd. I like distinctive things. I like distinctive person. I like people. I like things that have a very unique approach. And the soprano gave me that. Now, oddly enough, when I was growing up, I loved bass guitar. In the 70s, man, it was all about the funk.
Right.
So I kind of morphed into the jazz thing because I used to listen to Grover, Ronnie Laws, and then came, the 80s with George Howard, Najee, and those guys. And the soprano was a very unique sound, very pretty sound, but it took on a lot of different personalities that I like, because some of the guys, they played it pretty, some guys played it kind of aggressive, and I just loved the timbre on it. I just want to go with that approach. Now, when I first started, I did not understand how difficult it was to learn an instrument such as the soprano as the first saxophone of choice. That I did not know because I'm self-taught, but it was the horn that I gravitated to. Basically just worked until I developed a nice embouchure for the horn. It's always work in progress with soprano because that's a very difficult instrument to kind of maintain in terms of intonation, but it is part of who I am. It's part of my voice musically. Of course, I would not deviate from it because that's basically my signature sound now.
It is. Now, you've been dubbed the most consistent and hardest working indie artist in the industry. So what drives this work ethic, man, this consistency over the last 2 decades?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that as a indie artist / entrepreneur, you kind of put on an island by yourself. And I think I can speak for any entrepreneur. If you don't work, you don't eat. That's the mentality that they have. As an indie artist, that means you have to go up against the artist that's on the label and kind of have to compete, friendly competition in terms of business perspective.
Right.
But musically, I just felt compelled to, number one, have some type of sense of delivering the music to the people. That was job one, taking the music to the people. But at the same time, I always felt I'm a creative as well. So I'm obligated to do 2 things. Create good music, but also create good music, not just for yourself, but for people that may need it.
Yeah.
So I took it as a responsibility.
Okay. Now, your entrepreneurial spirit led you to launch your own label. What inspired you to take that leap of faith, if you will, as an independent artist?
Right. As the music industry changed, it changed drastically. The music labels once were the driving force for the careers of a lot of artists. Well, that tend to evolve to independence, independent music or independent labels or just independent artists. My thing was I've always wanted to capture ownership, whether it was in music or whatever, but I've always wanted to be a business person. I wanted to own something that I knew. And I wanted to basically control what I do musically because there are so many great artists that came before me that did not have that luck or that fortune, that great fortune to maintain their music catalog or legacy, I should say. Mm-hmm. They did great music, but what did they leave behind?
Yeah.
And a lot of it fell at the hands of the record companies.
Yeah.
And that's not to say a bad thing about the record companies, because the record companies, they in it for the business. As an independent and as an entrepreneur, I have to think just like them. So therefore, I wanted to run it like a business and protect what's mine. That is something that, I've been driven to. And that's been part of my journey. That's something I always wanted to pursue.
Nice. Going back in time a bit, you were part of a band, mm-hmm. right? Going way back in time here. So what led you to say, hey, it's time for me to go ahead and lead my own?
When I first got started, I was on a fast track, but the band based in Atlanta gave me an opportunity to really get my feet wet, gave me a lot of great ideas, really gave me the platform of confidence in a live performance. There was no pressure where I was out front as a solo artist. I was more of a side guy with another trumpet player. And it gave me confidence. But it also taught me the business side of the indie artist. But the long goal was I wanted to do something on my own, and I wanted to move in that direction. So there was a window of opportunity going into the millennial of 2000, where I kind of wanted to start afresh and just go from there. The band really gave me a good platform, but I just felt it was time for me to say what I want to say musically.
Nice. You've headlined at some concerts and festivals over the years. You've been to a lot of different locations throughout the world. Has there ever been a time where you're on the stage with maybe someone and you're kind of pinching yourself, like, I can't believe I'm here?
Not yet. I don't know why, but I guess my attitude is that we all artists.
Yeah.
But I have great respect for everyone, regardless, whether it's Stevie Wonder or it could be someone of today. It can be a Dave Koz or whomever, or it can be a Julian Vaughn. The way I look at it is that we all are musicians and we all have a job to do. That's the way I look at it. I'm sure if someone of a great stature of a Stevie Wonder brought me on stage, he's going to think no other less than that. Hey, I'm bringing you on stage. I'm expecting you to deliver. That is the attitude that I have. So I never looked at it from, oh, wow, I'm starstruck or, I can't believe I'm on stage. I just saw it as an opportunity. Hey, let's make good music together.
Yeah.
And let's create history.
Nice.
But at the same time, it can be a lesson learned from me. Hey, I was on stage with a legend and I was learning on stage as I went. But I never approach it that way. I look at it as, hey, let's make good music within this certain period of time and let's go from there.
Nice. Now, your albums always feature a diverse array of producers and collaborators, all talented, of course. How do you select who you work with?
Number one, I don't select anyone of a certain echelon, but what I try to do, I select producers that's going to elevate me. Because if I produced all the records myself, then I would find myself making the same record over and over. But I want to select producers that understand what I'm trying to say as a writer and as a performer, so they can help mold me. It's almost like you need someone's shoulder and above that's going to push your game or elevate your game to the next level. So I look for guys like that. But they don't have to have, extensive catalogs. I just need good producers that's just going to help me elevate my game.
Get the job done, make it happen.
Yeah.
Totally get it. As an indie artist, or just as an artist, obviously there are a number of individuals who will listen to this who have, maybe they're trying to come up, they're playing as well, maybe even any instrument, but maybe even the soprano sax. What advice do you give someone that is trying to come up right now?
Practice. And when I say practice both the instrument, but also learn the game, learn the business side of it, and learn a lot of ethics within yourself. Learn to make sacrifices, because in order for you to become successful or to sustain yourself in this game, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. Nothing is given, all is earned. But it's a constant learning process. But I would always say, learn your instrument, respect the music, but also learn the music business, because that part is forever changing. And in order for you to stay in the game, you're going to have to learn how and where it's moving.
You'll be performing at the Taste of Jazz Festival in Stockton, California, which is 30 minutes south of us here in Sacramento, on June 2nd, Sunday, June 2nd. What can your fans expect from your set and your live experience?
Basically, that show is part of the Nothing But Sax show. It's going to be a combination of 3 sax players, my good friends, Marquel Jordan, Tony Exton Jr. Basically, what we're going to do, we're going to share the stage together. We're going to put all our music in one pie, and we're just going to play our stuff. We're going to have a good time, but we can rest assured that the music is going to be full of energy. It's going to be music that we're going to try to connect with the audience, something that they can identify with. But more importantly, it's always good to share the stage with some of your friends that's on the same wavelength. Mm-hmm. And just having fun, man. It
sounds exciting. That's for sure. How can our listeners connect with you online?
You can always go to my website at deelucas.com. That's DeeLucas.com. I'm always on social media, Facebook. My music page on Facebook is Dee Lucas Sax, and also IG, Instagram, DeeLucas.sax. You can start there. I'm always engaged with everyone that's in contact with me on social media. So, hey, reach out to me.
All right. Now, before we go, I want our listeners to, of course, enjoy your music. So what track do you want our listeners to hear? What's going on with that track? How was that track developed? What was the inspiration behind that? Tell us what you can about this track that you're going to feature.
The new track, Tighten Up, which is produced by Adam Hawley. I always try to write songs that's very inspiring, not for me, but inspiring other people as well. Tighten Up came with the inspiration of, hey, we are living in a period where it's time for us to get on the move and make some things happen for ourselves. In order for us to get on the move, we got to tighten up some things before we can get on the move, if you understand what I'm saying. So whatever faults or whatever issues or whatever things we need to clean up, let's clean it up so we can move forward. So that is more music of encouragement, music of inspiration.
Tighten Up. Well, you get to hear it right now, ladies and gentlemen, right here on Sacramento Smooth Jazz. Dee, it's always a pleasure having you with us. I look forward to seeing you Sunday, June 2nd in Stockton, man. So
likewise, and thank you for having me. As always, it's always a blast, man. Having fun here.
Thanks for listening to Sacramento Smooth Jazz. To continue listening to Smooth Jazz 24/7, follow Sax Smooth Jazz on social media and listen by going to saxsmoothjazz.fm.